Would I be the a-hole for reporting my brother-in-law to CBS for what he did? My male 27 sister passed away in 2018. She left behind my 10-year-old nephew, and me and my nephew used to be very close. But because of the tension between me and my brother-in-law, his dad, we don't get along for several reasons. But I'm not going to get into that right now. My brother-in-law used to be a member of a club in his hometown. He has lots of tattoos. His whole left arm is covered in tattoos, as well as his neck and fingers. Last week, while he was visiting my parents' house, I was there, and I spent some time with my nephew. My nephew said the upper part of his shoulder has been itching. I checked and saw a spider-shaped tattoo with few letters around it. I was shocked because it looked like a permanent tattoo. There was redness in his skin, and he told me his dad got him a tattoo a few days ago. I went to speak to his dad. He didn't even try to explain, and just responded with, "So what?" when I asked if he really got his son a tattoo. I got into an argument with him telling him that what he did was not acceptable, especially since my nephew said he hated it. I asked who was okay with giving a minor a tattoo. My brother-in-law said that the tattoo artist is a close friend of his, and he agreed to give my nephew a tattoo. I told him this was wrong, and I will be getting CPS involved. He then yelled at me, telling to F off, and that I can't do jack since he's the father and has the authority. My parents told me to back off after he said he won't bring my nephew to visit again if I continue. My dad told me to mind my own business and stop being a jerk to a widower. I got overwhelmed after everyone demanded I apologize for my behavior, and I have not seen any of my family ever since. I've been thinking about this confrontation and my nephew's well-being. I'm worried and seriously considering calling CPS about what brother-in-law did. Now for the top comments. Not a-hole. There's a reason minors aren't allowed tattoos, especially when they've yet to finish growing. I would absolutely call CPS. The pain involved in tattooing, especially against a child's will, is nothing short of abuse. The man is not a fit parent, and being a widow, especially for 3 years, is no excuse for this. Not the a-hole. Make the call. I am a mandated reporter. If I saw a tattoo on a 10-year-old kid at my school, I would be required to make the call. Every state has a confidentiality policy, meaning they can out you. The family won't get that information and may think a teacher did it. This kid is doubtless going to show his classmates and word spreads. You can't deny it, because they're a-holes. This kid has a tattoo he hates, and it may be infected. Make the call and let the authorities handle it. What happens is up to them in the courts, not you. But someone needs to make that call, and you sound like the only sensible adult in the equation. Good on you for caring for that kid. This kid has a tattoo he hates, and it may be infected. This is my main concern for the moment. No sane tattoo artist would do this to a child. So this means that the one who actually did it to the poor boy is probably someone who isn't strict with the rules either. And it is bothering the child. Infection is a real danger, and there are plenty of other risks as well. So the poor child definitely needs to be seen by a doctor. Report, report, report. It is in the best interest of the child. Not a-hole. Please call CPS. Might wreck your relationship with brother-in-law, but who cares? He sounds like an A. Giving him a tattoo? That's insane. Not a-hole. This is child abuse. Honestly, the brother-in-law sounds like an absolute psycho. This might ruin your relationship with him, but honestly, it is in your nephew's best interest. And brother-in-law doesn't sound like the kind of person you'd want in your life anyway. Is it possible your parents were defending him out of fear? They may be scared of losing their grandson, and also scared of brother-in-law himself. I try not to worry too much about their reaction and do what you feel is right. Deep down, they probably know that what he did was wrong and are too scared to admit it in front of him. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for calling my parents insensitive after their reaction toward my late brother's wife's pregnancy test? My older brother passed away almost 2 months ago, and the feelings are still very fresh. My sister-in-law, his wife, is staying at my parents' house right now because she still can't set foot in their apartment. I, 29 male, live a few houses down from my parents, so I'm over all the time right now being there with them, so we all have that support. 2 weeks ago, my sister-in-law was getting sick, throwing up and stuff, but grief makes it hard to eat sometimes. I know, because I've dropped 5 pounds and can't eat much either. But since this only recently started happening to her, my mom became ecstatic out of nowhere and said maybe she's pregnant. This really freaked my sister-in-law out, and she honestly looked terrified. My parents went on talking about how beautiful it would be to have a baby right now, and it's my brother's parting gift. This did not make her happy at all. She bought a pregnancy test that same day, and it was negative. Sister-in-law was relieved, but my parents were not. My mom told her to wait another week, because sometimes it takes a while for the hormones to change or something like that. Again came back negative. My mom is still insisting she's pregnant, and sister-in-law has an appointment tomorrow to confirm, but she's pretty certain she's not. At dinner yesterday, all they would talk about is the baby, and sister-in-law admitted she doesn't want a child right now. This really angered my mom, and she said my sister-in-law was being very cruel for not wanting her child. It started upsetting sister-in-law and looked like she was gonna cry, so I told them to stop it already. She left at the table, and I called them out for being insensitive. I said they don't get she just lost her husband. Do you really think she wants to be a single mom right now on top of what she's going through? And why would they want this pregnancy when that'll mean their grandkid will grow up without their father? I was pretty red in the face telling them this because it really got to me. All week, I've told them to leave her alone about this because it's obviously been too much for sister-in-law and they just wouldn't stop. Even when she tells them she doesn't want to talk about it. This made my mom emotional too and told me I don't understand because I'm not a parent. Then my dad got mad at me for reacting that way when they just want to be happy about the possibility of having a grandchild. But to me, it's been pointed out to them that sister-in-law isn't happy about this, so why push it and make her uncomfortable? My parents are still mad at me. Dad just think I was an a-hole for calling them insensitive and making it seem like they were doing something wrong. Sister-in-law is still a mess and anxious about her appointment. She doesn't believe she's pregnant, but says she doesn't know what she'll do if it somehow turns out she is. Anyways, I'd like to know if what I said made me an a-hole. It really pissed me off is all. Not an a-hole at all. Thank you for standing up for your sister-in-law. Your mother is understandably grieving the loss of her child right now, and has latched onto the idea that his widow could be carrying his child. Honestly, I hope for everyone's sake she isn't, because this isn't healthy. I guarantee that your mother is already thinking of this child as the reincarnation of your brother, and it will be insufferable. Your mother needs therapy. Your father is also an a-hole for completely ignoring that your sister-in-law lost her husband in his own grief for his son. Can your sister-in-law stay with you? It'd probably be better for her. I hope so too. She already told me she doesn't know if she could actually make it through a pregnancy. And I get that. But it would cause an even bigger drama with my parents, so here's hoping she isn't. We're talking about that. I told her if she's not comfortable there, she can come here. She just feels guilty about leaving since they took her in. For your information, if she's feeling sick but got 2 negative tests, she's 99% not pregnant. Typically, you don't start feeling nauseated until you're about 6 weeks pregnant or later, and that's more than enough time to get a positive test. Pregnancy symptoms typically don't appear till, well, after you've missed your period or got any positive tests, so I'm pretty sure she's in the clear. Not a a-hole. I've actually been in this situation. My husband died 6 years ago. When he died, his mother kept asking if I could be pregnant and saying how she would love to have something of my husband still left behind. She put pressure on me, and when we found out that I wasn't pregnant, it made me feel like a terrible person who couldn't give his mom what she wanted. It was a mess, and I didn't need that guilt and pain when I was already devastated over losing my husband. You sound honestly amazing for standing up for your sister-in-law. That was kind of you, and the right thing to do. Your parents need to back off and let her grieve. They are taking their emotions out on her, and it's not beneficial for anyone. Keep having her back. You're a good guy. Not at a-hole. Your parents are treating your sister-in-law like a human incubator for your brother's memories. They need to step back and realize they are being outrageous, and their behavior is absolutely unacceptable. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for calling my mother-in-law a bad mother and kicking her off a family Zoom call? My 41 female husband 42 male and I have been married for 15 years. I have an okay relationship with my mother-in-law, but prefer to limit contact with her because she's very nosy and likes to gossip. When I first met my husband, he told me that he was an only child. However, when we started to get serious and were discussing marriage, he told me that he was in fact not an only child, that he has a sister. However, he wants nothing to do with her. He told me he tells people that he is an only child because 1. People will be nosy and ask why he does not speak to her. Or 2. Try to get him to fix the relationship with her. I told him that it was his choice, and that family's who you choose, not what you were born into. He went on to explain that his sister has a history with addiction. She is a habitual liar, and would lie on purpose so that he would get into trouble and not her, and that she would steal from him. He said that when he moved out at 18, the last conversation that he had with his sister was him telling her that he wanted nothing to do with her, and that he is an only child. My mother-in-law has been trying to force a relationship between them ever since, much to the detriment of her own relationship with her son. Saturday was my husband's birthday, so I organized a family Zoom call 2 weeks ago so that everyone could sing happy birthday and open presents with him. The week prior, my mother-in-law sent me a message over Facebook that she wanted to surprise my husband with his sister. She said she felt like it was time for the two of them to bury the hatchet. I told her that this is not a good idea, that my husband wants nothing to do with her, and that I would not open lines of communication between the two of them without discussing it with him first. She asked me if I could give sister-in-law my contact information, and I told her no. Well, she did anyway, and my sister-in-law started texting and calling me on my phone. Since she is not a Facebook friend, she cannot contact me online. I told my husband about it, and he was beyond pissed off. He told mother-in-law to stop trying to force him to have a relationship with his sister, and if she cannot respect this, he will stop speaking to her as well. We thought all was fine, until Saturday. Right as we were getting ready to sing happy birthday, mother-in-law tells my husband she has a surprise, and sister-in-law sits down next to her and starts crying and sobbing about how she misses her brother. My husband was so angry that he walked away. I told my mother-in-law she was a horrible mother, and have since blocked her on Facebook and on my phone. Now, I'm getting Facebook messages and phone calls from other relatives, including my own family, about how rude I was and how I should apologize to mother-in-law for how I behaved. My own mother says that mother-in-law was only trying to help, and that I need to unblock her and beg forgiveness. Am I the a-hole for calling my mother-in-law a horrible mother? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She did something she knew would upset him, and on his birthday. Your husband is an adult and has made his wishes clear, and I'm sure he's happy that you have his back. I agree, not the a-hole. I think a lot of people struggle imagining situations in which they'd cut family off because of their own good relationships, but it does not mean supposed well-intentioned meddling is done for the husband's benefit. Your family should not be interfering or apply pressure on a situation they are hearing about third hand. Good luck. Exactly. My first loyalty is to my husband. He has explained why he feels this way, and his so-called mother has done nothing but refuse to respect his boundaries. If you think such blatant disrespect is acceptable behavior, then I have misjudged you, and I think it's best we do not communicate further while I reevaluate our relationship. Not the a-hole. Your husband made it clear that he does not want a relationship with his sister, and that needs to be respected. Your mother-in-law is horrible because her son has repeatedly told her he doesn't want a relationship with his sister. And instead of supporting his decision, she keeps finding ways to force one. You have nothing to apologize for. Keep her blocked and everything, and anyone who insists on demanding you apologize can join her on a blocked list. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not asking my sister-in-law to go to dinner with us? My first time posting here, so please bear with me. A little bit of background. My husband, male 30, and I, female 30, have been living with my in-laws for 2 years now. I share an okay rapport with them as their expectations are a little too much for me to handle, but that's a different story. My sister-in-law, female 23, is kind of spoiled, where she pretty much gets what she wants every time and will change the story, manipulate things and lie in order to make herself look good in front of other people. She has been having issues with her boyfriend for some time, and every time she comes to me for advice and wants to hang out with me when her boyfriend stops hanging out with her. But as soon as they are on good terms or she makes new friends, she stops hanging out with me. She has never asked me to hang out with her when she doesn't need me. On the other hand, my husband and I will try to include her in our outings, dinners, if I'm going to my cousin's house, shopping, etc. So the issue arose when she found out that my husband and I went for dinner with my brother in the city and we did not ask her to go. I had not had dinner with my brother since I got married, and I barely see him as he lives away in a different city than us. This was a random plan that my husband and I ended up making, and as we were getting ready to go out, I suggested we message my brother and see if he wants to hang out with us for dinner. He was free, and so he said yes. We drove to a city 45 minutes, had dinner, and came back home around 11:30 p.m. By this time, everyone was asleep. The next day, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law were having breakfast but would not talk to me properly. I tried to say hi and ask how they were doing, but they ignored me. When I kept asking what happened, then my sister-in-law started crying and in a passive-aggressive tone said, "I thought you cared about me." And I said, "I do care about you, but I am not sure what I did wrong to make you cry." At this point, she started saying that I knew she was having a hard time in her relationship and needed support from me, and that she was lonely all day yesterday, and if I was going to be hanging out with my brother for dinner, then I should have taken her too. She said she thought I was going on a date with my husband and therefore did not tag along, but if she knew I was going to have dinner with my brother and husband, then she should have been included too. I have to be honest, I was feeling livid at this point. Her sense of entitlement was making me fume, and I couldn't hold it in any longer and told her that I get to decide who I have dinner with, and that just because she's having a hard time in her relationship doesn't mean I owe it to her to take her out and make her feel better every single time. My mother-in-law was not happy that I raised my voice and thought my sister-in-law yelled at both me and my husband. My mother-in-law is holding us accountable for making her daughter cry. She is expecting us to apologize to sister-in-law. Am I the a-hole for not taking my sister-in-law for dinner and losing my cool when she yelled? Not the a-hole, but you need to move out, or everyone sucks here. There is obvious tension in the family that isn't necessarily your fault. Your sister-in-law is definitely toxic, but if y'all don't leave the situation, you're just as bad as all of them because you're engaging in and supporting her and your in-laws' behavior. My family has been convincing me to move out, but my husband's mom is not in the best of health, and I am expected to do the chores in the house and take care of the family. That's why we live with the in-laws. Oh, so you belong to them. You have your own life and can make your own choices. You're choosing to stay. Your husband should be making you the priority, not his parents. Thank you. Sometimes one needs another person to be firm and say it as is. I totally get I'm choosing to stay. It's just that I can't leave without my husband, and he's been under their control his whole life, to the point where he didn't even have his own bank account, and his money used to go to them, and he would get pocket money to spend if needed. We need to discuss our future and see what we can do. I'm going to be blunt. You might have to leave him. I hope he stands up and sees the abuse that his parents have put him through his whole life and now onto you, but he might just be in too deep. If that's the case, you have to do what's best for you. You can't keep others warm by setting yourself on fire. Wow, never thought about it in that way. Thanks for putting things in perspective. He has realized the abuse his parents have put him through, and he thanks me for helping me see it. We will be getting my parents' help for our next steps.
Fiancé used my childhood trauma to win a video game. Plus mini update. I don't even know how to type this or explain my thoughts right now, so I apologize if I seem scattered. I, 31 male, have been engaged to my fiancé Emily, 29 female, for the past 3 months. We've been together for 2 years. She has been the only relationship where I felt safe enough to open up and discuss my past trauma. Many nights I have cried into her arms, and she has been there to comfort me. She goes to therapy with me and has been a rock in our relationship. I have been getting much better since I really opened up about it, and have been able to live a better and more liberating life over the past 2 years, until last Saturday. Emily is ultra competitive, not just in sports, but in life. She will do whatever it takes to win and be number one. She has lost friendships, family relationships, jobs, and money. She understands this and has been trying to get better by going to therapy, stating she doesn't know why she is like this. She seemed to cool down over the summer, but she is still very competitive. Even her parents have no idea why she is this way, because they were not athletes and have never pushed her to be number one. Her siblings are also confused about when this all started. I was a former college athlete, and yes, I am competitive, but not so much anymore. Recently, my friend group started a monthly game night. I was on a 4-month win streak. We played board games, old video games, painting, basketball, and even football. It's all in good fun, but last month Emily was so angry she didn't win that she walked home and didn't want to talk to me for at least 2 days. Before we left for game night, I asked her to please have fun and that it doesn't matter who wins. She promised she would try. As game night came to an end, Emily and I were tied with one more event. The rules are that if it's a man versus woman match, the lady chooses the final game. She selected N64 Mario Kart. I'm the king of that game. I never lose. I asked her if she really wanted to do that, and she called me a chicken while big talking about how she would beat me at my own game. I should have backed off, but I caved and we raced. Now, common knowledge is let her win, and trust me, I thought about it. But she gets really angry if she thinks you let her win. Her attitude is way worse then. As we started racing, it was a tight match. She kept hitting the banana peels, but she kept catching up. On the last lap, she started trying to distract me by saying he snores when he sleeps, using basic middle school insults. Then she tried bumping me to distract me, but I was locked in and focused. I responded back, at least I don't keep hitting the bananas, love. Very simple and fun. We were in the final leg of the race, and that's when she snapped, at least I didn't get SA'd by my own family. I froze up, dropped the controller, and she passed me and won. She was jumping up and down with joy, screaming and dancing that she finally won. From what my friends told me later, she kept that up for a good while until she saw my face, and that's when she stopped. My friends were in complete shock, asking me if that was true. I couldn't speak, I couldn't breathe, and I was fighting back all the inner demons swirling in my head. I simply got up, wished them a good night, and started walking. I was in a trance. I didn't even know where I was walking to. Emily tried calling and texting, asking where I was, begging me to call and come home. She kept saying she's sorry, just wanted to win so badly, and doesn't know why she said that. I told her to please stop calling me. I needed space. I don't know what to do. I love this girl and trusted her, but she used that trust to win a freaking video game. My friends are now asking me about my past and won't leave me alone. I guess all I'm asking is there any way back from this, or is this the end? Do I dump her or try to work this out? Any advice would be very helpful. Now for the top comments before the mini update. I'm sorry, but I really don't see how this relationship can survive. She not only used the one thing that you trusted her with, but she also used your pain and trauma to win a goddamn video game, and in front of other people who were clueless about your past. I don't think there is anything a person could do to get past that level of disrespect and complete lack of decency. I'm so sorry for your past and what you went through. Is there any friend you feel comfortable enough to talk to? Are you seeing a therapist? Heck, even keep talking to people on here if you think it would help. Please don't shut out your friends, and please don't shut down. Lean on your friends or whoever you feel comfortable around. Final thought, F that evil witch. I'm glad you emphasized on avoiding shutting out his friends. They can be real help when you will need it the most, if their intentions are good by asking you about it. Lean on whoever you're comfortable with, and time to start all over again. It is never too late. You got this. And yes, F that evil witch. You deserve better. I really hope he listens. He deserves so much better, and I hope his friends keep trying to reach him. My heart breaks for him. There is no way back from this. You will never, ever feel safe with her again, and you will never trust her again, and you shouldn't. Just tell her you hope winning a stupid game was worth losing your relationship, and that if she's smart, she'll stay single until she figures out and fixes whatever the heck is wrong with her. Yeah, she needs a lot more therapy if she had the gut instinct to do that. It's cruel, and I can't imagine hurting someone I love so badly over something so stupid like Mario Kart. Wow. Some things, when broken, take years to fix, and one of those things is trust. This will be on your mind, OP, as you say your vows. She has tainted a relationship. This won't just go away. Edit. I want to thank everyone for their comments and DMs. I've been reading all of them for the past 3 hours. I guess I knew this was the end of this relationship, but after spending 2 years with someone, having strong feelings, and trusting them, I wanted to see if a majority of people could see something else that I didn't, something that could save it. After reading the comments, I guess I overlooked the massive red flags that Emily had. I decided to sit down with my friend group tonight and tell them about my past. It will be difficult, but I will also text Emily tonight and meet with her tomorrow. Next story. My wife of 10 years divorced me for cheating on her, emptied out the house, and went out of her way to make my life a living hell. Except I never cheated. My wife and I were together for 10 years, and throughout our entire relationship, she always suspected me of cheating on her. The first time she accused me of cheating, about 2 years into the relationship. I was so upset that she could think I was capable of something like this that I started crying on the spot. But I work in a career field where cheating is rampant, and I travel a lot for work, so I understood where the insecurity might come from. I always believed that if I demonstrated myself as a loyal and faithful husband, she would eventually realize that this belief was misplaced. But instead, it seemed to get worse over the years. These conversations and accusations would always lead to fights and became more and more frequent over time. About 2 years ago, she became even more convinced and would say things like, "I know you're cheating on me, and it has been really difficult for me to come to terms with it and forgive you." Everyday activities became proof of my infidelity. If I worked late, it was because I was actually out meeting my affair partner. If I woke up early to go for a run, I was actually meeting her for a 6 a.m. quickie. When my motorcycle was vandalized, it was a jilted ex-lover. I demanded that we go to couples counseling, and she refused, saying, "Why should I have to go to counseling? You're the one that's doing it." She gave examples, such as the fact that I masturbate 3 to 5 times per week, as evidence that I was addicted to sex, and suggested that I join a Sexaholics Anonymous group. About 6 months ago, I was away on a work trip, and she texted me, "I finally found a proof that you're cheating on me like I had always suspected," and emailed me divorce paperwork. I was dumbfounded and asked her to tell me what proof she was referring to, but she replied, "It's not my job to share that with you. It's your job to prove to me that you're not cheating." I immediately came home to find that she had already moved out and taken everything in the house with her. She had a portrait of ourselves commissioned, and she had left it behind with her face cut out of it and "cheater" scrawled across my face. Over the next few weeks, she contacted all my friends, family, and coworkers to tell them that I had been cheating on her for years and that she was finally leaving me after no longer being able to deal with it. I lost a lot of friends who took her at her word and had to have so many uncomfortable conversations with others. Among those who decided not to cut me out of their lives, I have no idea who even believes me. I had to sit down with HR at work because my coworkers had filed complaints about being harassed by my ex. I had to dip into my retirement savings to pay for a divorce lawyer and replace everything in the house that had been taken. If she had simply decided to leave me, I would have been heartbroken but would have accepted it. Heck, if she was cheating on me, I would have been more upset, but could have come to terms with it. But I feel like such a victim, if that's the right word. I did my best to be a good husband and demonstrate to her that I was loyal, only to still be punished for something that never happened. I feel so stupid for failing to notice how serious these accusations were, for thinking that ignoring them would make them go away. And somehow, I also blame myself for not insisting that we address this issue years ago when it might have still been salvageable. My entire life was destroyed over nothing. Sue for defamation? She's publicly accusing you and affecting your career and social life by making accusations directly to friends, family, workplace, and I'm assuming online as well. Sounds like defamation to me. OP, your lawyer really needs to make this happen. She stole from you by taking everything in the house and is intentionally affecting your job. Your marriage is over. Your wife went nuclear. Time to make sure she pays for the cleanup. There's no coming back from any of this. Even if she begs, you will find a partner who values and trusts you like your ex never did. But you need to go on the offensive to make sure she pays for what she's done. You should have divorced her 10 years ago after the first incident. It sounds like your relationship was built on a lack of trust instead of the other way around. I'm sorry you went through that. Hopefully you can move forward in peace. Also, would love to know what job is rampant with cheating. Pilot or flight attendant was my first guess. Maybe he's a baker that lures women in with his sweet treats and breads. Lol. She was cheating. Took the coward's way out of the marriage. Although just speculation. Yep. I had an ex who always talked about me cheating and suspected me of cheating even though I was tied to her at the hip. I always told her that she'd be the one to cheat. Guess who ended up cheating? Hint, not me. Last story. I think I just torched my marriage by withdrawing consent to implant our very last embryo. F you, F you, F you. You're an F-head. I effing hate you. These are the words that came out of my wife's mouth today as we were walking our son home from daycare. We're both professionals in our 40s, yet in that moment, you wouldn't have guessed. We were having an argument over my perception that she was pandering to our son's tantrums and not enforcing boundaries. And then that happened. It was on a street in public, and I was holding my son's hand. I asked her quietly several times not to speak to me that way, especially in front of our son, and she just kept repeating herself. I'm in my car now, numb, typing this out. She's definitely had a rough go of it lately. She just learned that her umpteenth, I've lost count, round of IVF has failed, and is also dealing with all the excess hormones she's been injecting herself with. She's been passed up for a promotion at work and didn't get another job at a different company. She has one of the top jobs in the country in her field, but she's a high achiever. After the birth of our son, she went through horrible PPD and lost her fitness after having qualified for and competing in the World Championships for her sport. I'm not denying she has many valid reasons to feel upset. God knows I'm not perfect and probably contribute to her unhappiness at times. But her reactions to her feelings are getting more and more unhinged. She's thrown our boy, as a baby, down on a couch in frustration. She's lashed out and told me she finds me unattractive after I lost fitness during the pandemic following the birth of our son. I still hit the gym 2 to 3 times a week, ran weekly 5Ks, cycled up 200 kilometers at a time, and fit into medium t-shirts, though I no longer had visible abs. She road raged at another woman, even following her to her exit after a submerged dispute. And now this pure and adulterated vitriol. It breaks my heart that my son got to see it. His little sponge of a brain has absorbed something today, something I'm hoping to dear God doesn't become some dormant memory that manifests itself in a couple of decades, when it's his turn to have a serious partner. I've just withdrawn my consent for the transfer of our last remaining embryo. We've spent damn near $100,000 trying, but I can't bring another kid into this. She will lash out again. She'll try apologizing. She might love mommy, but I'd never forgive myself if something happened to this kid. She's proven herself to be both physically and verbally abusive. But the last thing she'll do after all these fails is resent me, then leave me. Now for the comments. Just read your post history. How was she before you had kids? How was your communication? I moved halfway across the world to marry her. She was wonderful. Communication was open, honest, and supportive. PPD changed everything, and she never really bounced back. Was the PPD ever properly treated? Is it possible that the depression is still there or has been triggered again? It doesn't excuse her behavior. But I know my depression/anxiety manifests as rage. Usually, I'm able to recognize it and realize I need to talk to my psychiatrist about my medication, but that's only after a couple of blow-ups. Sounds like she's going through a lot and needs help, so she stops taking it out on you and her son. As someone who has suffered from hormone-induced / increased depression and anxiety, sometimes manifesting as rage in the form of PMDD, it sounds as if the hormones your wife has been taking as part of the IVF could be aggravating her already questionable mental health. Just an aside to give you an indication of what my hormonal hell is like, when my PMDD gets bad, I turn to an irrational raging bee. It's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I can see myself acting that way, but I snap so quickly that I had no time to control it. Hormones can seriously mess with our mental health, something that isn't studied enough. I have said awful things that I didn't mean just to upset others. I have rage quit jobs, ended relationships, and dealt with suicidal ideation. It's scary to feel out of control, and that just increases the anxiety, which increases the depression, and so on. Now that you've withdrawn consent, will she stop using the hormones? That may be the first step in a series of getting her balanced back out. Has she continued to take the medication prescribed after her PPD diagnosis? Did it seem to help while she was taking it? It seems like she would benefit from taking an antidepressant. Zoloft has literally saved my life. Would she be receptive to discussing all of this after she calms herself? I truly hope for the best outcome for all of you, whatever that may look like at this point. I'm so sorry you've been struggling with this, and I'm sorry that she doesn't appear to be self-aware enough to know what damage she is doing to you, your son, and your relationship. I hope she will get the help she desperately needs. The hormones are absolutely a thing. She's on 3 times the dose she was when we successfully conceived our first, also through IVF. She's reached out to her doc already regarding stopping the meds, and she's agreed to therapy. So I'll take those small wins and go from there. Thanks for sharing. Edit. I'm blown away by the responses and messages, both supportive and critical. I'm sorry I can't go through and respond to every single one, but I do read them. Thank you in particular to the women who have gone through PPD/IVF/both, who have reached out, and to those who grew up in abusive households. Your comments and stories are eye-opening. She's agreed to couples and individual therapy. Therapists are mandatory reporters here, so I will be following their advice regarding next steps. I appreciate the comments telling me to get out. If a trained professional has safety concerns and comes to that same conclusion, I will. But I also know my wife of the last 3 years is not the same person I fell in love with over a decade ago, and I owe it to our family to see if that person still exists.
Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my fiancé my stepdaughter isn't mine? Sort it yourself? Original post. I'm a 27-year-old man and my fiancé is 30. We've been together for nearly 4 years. I have a 6-year-old son and she has an 11-year-old daughter from previous relationships. Up until now, we've never had any issues regarding the children. Yesterday, her daughter was set to go on a camping trip for a friend's birthday where they'd be doing activities like kayaking. My fiancé dressed her in a dress, and I mentioned to her that it didn't seem like the right choice for the occasion. She seemed offended and said her daughter could wear whatever she liked and that it wasn't a man's place to judge. I tried to clarify what I meant, but she cut me off, saying, "She's my daughter, not yours." I took my son to a pre-planned match when my fiancé rang me. It turned out the birthday girl's mom had told her daughter she couldn't go in a dress and needed to wear a tracksuit or something similar, so they didn't let her on the bus. My fiancé then asked if I could leave the match early to drive her daughter to the activity center. I replied, "Why should I? She's not my daughter and I'm here with my son." Neither of us are talking now. I do pity my stepdaughter and I wasn't being spiteful. My son was looking forward to it and it would be about 4 hours of travel. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Who sends a girl kayaking in a dress? Someone who's clearly never been kayaking. I've never been kayaking either, but common sense still tells me that a child in a dress is wildly inappropriate for the activity. Not the a-hole. Lol, you try to help her and she told you to butt out.
Make sure to get an apology. Yeah, I'd say I'll be waiting for an apology. Dollars to donuts, you'll be waiting for a while. I'm gonna say this just in case. While waiting, be sure to spend time with your stepdaughter. Don't let her get caught in the middle between you and her mom butting heads. Regardless of who's the a-hole, she doesn't need this. Yeah, I'm taking her and my son to the camp next weekend instead. We won't do the camping part, but we'll do the activities. That's of course if I'm allowed to take her. My fiancé is obviously invited too, but only if she wears a dress. I'm joking. Not the a-hole. She can't be a snarky person and still expect you to help. She made her choice, and choices have consequences. This relationship isn't lasting much longer, lol. And good, she sounds like a red flag. Yeah, I didn't want to sound like a drama queen, but I'm very surprised what she said and questioning some stuff. I see my stepdaughter as my daughter and would have expected the same with her and my son. I'm not saying I don't have a favorite child, but I love them both. Edit? From what I gather, I was a bit of an a-hole, and she was a bigger a-hole, so I'm going to try and talk it out and see what we both want. Now for the update. I had a conversation with my fiancé, and she asked why would I say something hurtful. I replied that I was just repeating what she said to me earlier. Then she asked if I loved her daughter, and I said I did. She asked if it was as much as I loved my son, and I responded, almost as much. She got cranky, so I asked her if she loved my son. She said no. I asked if she loved me, and her answer was sort of. She started crying, woke up her daughter, and told her they had to leave, though I hadn't told them to go. I said we could talk about it tomorrow, but she insisted, saying he doesn't want us anymore. I told her that I never said that. Her daughter began crying and didn't want to leave, but her mother said, "Don't make me leave on my own. He doesn't want you." I reassured them both that they were welcome to stay. My fiancé decided to leave without her daughter, and now she's not answering. When I spoke to my fiancé's daughter's father, he just laughed and said she couldn't even hold off on a crazy until after the wedding. That poor 11-year-old girl. This won't be the last time she has her life uprooted by her unstable mother. That poor girl deserves stability, not drama. I hope she finds a way to cope with all of this chaos. And you never noticed anything beforehand leading up to you proposing to this person that she's an absolute nut job? What's the go, OP? I genuinely didn't. My son loves her. Some people pointed out her picking her daughter's clothes was weird, but I never really thought about it. I had a mother like that, a similar level of crazy. Mine did some wild stuff. Best you can do is assure the girl you'll be there for her no matter what. Chances are you love that girl more than her mother does. That was my experience. My stepdad cares more about me than my mother does. Bio dad is dead, so not much choice with him. They're getting a divorce now that I'm an adult, and he's keeping me in the divorce. I'm glad you had him at least, and sorry about your bio dad. She's always welcome at mine. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to attend Thanksgiving dinner because my wife keeps siding with her parents over me? My wife and I have been married for 5 years, and while I love her deeply, there's an issue that's causing a lot of strain in our relationship. Her parents are very involved in our lives, and they tend to voice their opinions on everything, from how we spend our money to how we should be raising our kids. We have two. I'm not close with my own family, so I always hoped my in-laws would feel like family to me. Instead, it feels like they criticize every decision I make, and my wife doesn't defend me. Whenever they make a comment about my job or our parenting choices, she just sits there or, worse, agrees with them. Last week, her dad made a dig about my job, saying something like, "If you worked harder, maybe you could afford a better home for the kids." My wife just laughed it off, and I felt humiliated. I later told her how much that hurt, but she brushed it off, saying that's just how they are. I told her I don't want to attend Thanksgiving at her place if I'm going to be treated this way, but she says I'm overreacting and making things difficult for her. Am I in the wrong for wanting to skip Thanksgiving if it means avoiding more of their disrespect, especially when my wife won't back me up? Dude, if you don't stand your ground now, later will be too late. Let's face it, there are expectations from you, and unless you are respected even if you provide everything later, it can be called as not man enough. Thanks, I think you're right. It's about setting boundaries now before things get worse.
I need to make sure I'm respected in my own family. 100% not the a-hole. If my father-in-law insulted me at my job to my face in front of my wife and she laughed about it, I'd say there are several a-holes here and none of them is you. At best, he's an insensitive jerk. At worst, he's a grade A-hole. What kind of man behaves that way? She's behaving really badly for not defending you in front of him. Not going to Thanksgiving? Heck, I would not only never go to their house again, I would forbid them from entering mine. And you need to consider if your wife really has your best interests at heart. That's exactly how I feel. It's one thing to be criticized, but it's worse when my wife doesn't back me up. I really need to figure out where her loyalty lies. Your wife is the #1 problem here. If she's not in your side, who is? This is her family. She should be dealing with them on this. Instead, she's dismissing you. Exactly. It hurts that she won't stand up for me. Next story. Am I in the wrong for telling my ex-husband that our kids are justified in feeling like they don't have a father? I'm 33 and have 2 kids, 12 and 8. I divorced their dad when I discovered he was cheating on me with a mom from our younger son's school group. Despite that betrayal, I agreed to shared custody because I wanted my kids to grow up with their father in their lives. However, since the divorce, he's only been around when he's picking them up for visits. He often goes out with his stepchildren, but rarely includes our kids, claiming those outings are spur of the moment and can't always include them. Eventually, I stopped pushing, but I've always thought it was unfair that he keeps his distance from our children's lives. Recently, I decided to upgrade my older son's computer, and he asked if we could give his old one to his cousin, my brother's son. My brother has been a huge support for my kids. He's always available to take them to their school events when I can't, and often takes them out to the park or on trips when I'm busy. My ex, on the other hand, is rarely available for them. Anytime I ask him to help with an activity, he has an excuse. He's out of town or swamped with work. Ironically though, whenever his stepkids need something, he's there. Once he even argued with his stepkid's father at a school event, insisting he had a right to be there. When my ex found out I gave the computer to my nephew, he got upset. He complained that if I had money to spare on a gift like that, I should have forgiven 2 months of child support he'd missed, since his finances were tight with a new baby. He added that if I could give away a computer, I should have gifted it to either his kids or his stepkids, who shared just one computer among the 3 of them. I told him my finances were none of his business, and that I owed nothing to his stepchildren. Then his wife jumped into the conversation, accusing me of spoiling my son by giving him a new computer and of being petty for letting my son bring it to their house, claiming it was just to show off in front of his step-siblings. I told her she had no right to speak to me that way or question my decisions. I added that I allow my kids to see their father so they can grow up with him in their lives, not so she can interfere with how I parent. My ex was offended, but I told him this whole situation could have been avoided if his wife hadn't inserted herself where she doesn't belong. After that, things seemed to calm down until last week. I went to pick up the kids, and my ex was visibly upset. He explained that he'd tried reading a bedtime story to our youngest. At home, he still likes to be read to before bed, usually by me, his brother or my brother. And when none of us are around, he listens to audiobooks. Apparently, my ex wanted to make an effort to connect, so he offered to read to him, but our son turned him down, saying he didn't need him for that because he could do it himself. My ex stayed to listen as he searched for a story for 8-year-olds without a dad on his tablet, and it hit him hard. The next day, my ex offered to take our older son to basketball practice, but he replied that he'd be going with his dad. He quickly corrected himself and said, "Uncle." That made my ex even angrier, and when I came to pick up the kids, he confronted me about it. I told him that if our kids feel like they don't have a father, he has only himself to blame. He tried to shift the blame onto me, saying I was the one pushing him away from his role. I told him it's up to him to show up for his kids. It's not something I can do for him. I reminded him he was the one who broke our family, and has chosen to be more involved with his stepkids than with his own children. I told him not to kid himself. The kids are growing up, and they're starting to see the reality of who he is as a father. If he keeps this up, he can't expect much from them in the future. After that exchange, his mom called me. While she's always been polite to me, I felt the need to say that I would have appreciated this same concern from her when she supported her son's affair, knowing her grandchildren were losing their father in the process. She hung up, and we haven't spoken since. My brother advised me that I had every right to express how I feel, but he suggested that maybe this discussion shouldn't have happened in front of the kids. Later, my ex texted me saying that if I weren't so difficult, he'd spend more time with them. I told him his duty as a father doesn't depend on whether I'm easy or not, and he knows I've never prevented him from seeing the kids. The truth is, when he has to choose, he prefers outings with his stepkids over his own children, and that's something only he can change. Now for the top comments. You can only do so much, OP, and don't let him off the hook for any child support. The fact that it's stretching his budget is a him problem, not a you problem. And I agree with your brother that that conversation should have not happened in front of the kids. But if I understand correctly, your ex chose the time and place, not giving you much choice in the matter. Not the a-hole. I love how if she had extra money, she should forgive child support. But him already knowing money was tight wasn't a reason to not have another kid. My ex stayed to listen as he searched for a story for 8-year-olds without a dad on his tablet. Pfft, your kid is ruthless. Good for him. Not the a-hole. 8-year-olds can be ruthless. They seriously don't hold back. They understand so much more at that age. Last story. Am I the a-hole for returning my stepson's belongings to his mother's house? I, 35 female, have known my fiancé, 41 female, for 7 years. We have 2 ours children, 4 male and 1 female. And my fiancé has a son, 10 male, from his previous marriage. I met his son, whom I call my stepson even though we are not technically married, when he was 4. Since I've been around, my fiancé and his ex have used a simple strategy to send my stepson's belongings back and forth between the 2 houses. The fiancé used to pack a backpack with anything that his son needed for the next few days. School supplies, sports gear, clothing, and drop it off with his son at school. His ex would pick up their son, keep anything that belonged at her house, and return anything that belonged to us on the next drop-off day. Easy. Over the years, my stepson's mother has sent disparaging texts accusing us of keeping the clothing she buys for him at our house for too long. She says he never has enough clothes there and wants us to send everything back as soon as possible, even if it's not clean yet. My fiancé has refused to acknowledge her request, so usually the task falls on my shoulders. I wash laundry religiously and make sure to pack and label a bag with all of the clothing she has requested, placing it in my stepson's backpack. I usually ask my stepson to make sure he takes the clothing out of his backpack when he returns to his mother's house because she forgets to check his backpack. Today, both my stepson and my 4-year-old had basketball practice at the YMCA. My stepson was scheduled to be with his mother for the weekend, but on Saturdays she always bring him up to the Y for a few hours so he can play, and then he goes back to her place. On our way out, I grabbed a jacket my stepson had left behind. It belonged to his mother's house. Since we were going to see him, I thought it would be easier to return it now. I also figured he would show up to the gym without a coat on a cold day, as his mother rarely dresses him appropriately for the weather. When we, fiancé, me, our 2 kids, got into the car, my fiancé saw me holding the jacket and lost it on me. He tore into me about how I was immature, petty, and rude for sending all of his son's clothing away from our house. He said I have been doing it for years, because I hate to see anything at our house that my stepson's mother has bought. He said I was making our stepson feel like he wasn't welcome in our home, and that it was an unfair burden for a 10-year-old to have to make sure all of his belongings are returned to their prospective houses several times per week. I actually agree with that last point. I've been saying for years this schlepping feels unfair to the boy. I told my fiancé he was the a-hole for blowing up on me in front of our kids. I told him that if I was the a-hole, then he and his ex were too, because I was just following a system they started. I told him it was way too easy for him to see me in a negative light instead of becoming curious about why I was so adamant about returning his son's belongings quickly. I also told him that he was now solely responsible for managing his son's belongings because I didn't need the drama tied to it. And I didn't need to be unfairly painted as a wicked stepmother. Oh, and my stepson definitely showed up to the Y without a coat. He was cold. He also let us know the coat I grabbed was actually his mother's.
She'd let him borrow it, but wanted it back because her new husband had just gifted it to her recently. I'm struggling to see how I'm the a-hole. Am I? Both my fiancé and his ex have called me the a-hole for many reasons since I've been in this relationship. Help, please. I understand why she divorced him. He sucks. He's negligent, abandons his responsibilities, and when you angelically try to pick up the slack, he berates you with an ungodly temper. Not a-hole. My ex-sister-in-law would send the kids to their dad without any appropriate clothes, so we were always buying them new coats. But she had terrorized them about their things that would freak out if my brother tried to keep any of them at his house. He was paying a lot of child support and alimony, so she was not scraping by. She was just being vindictive.